Greetings and welcome to In Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. How do we create systems that honor those that have made contributions to our community and country? How do we do it while they are still alive, and we do so invoking the name of Hazel Browne? We ask and answer that question with Caribbean Women Honors and Empowerment Trinidad and Tobago Chair and District Manager, Ms. Wendy H. Lewis, as well as former CEO at the T&T Chamber of Commerce, Catherine Kumar, and retired Assistant Commissioner of Police, Margaret Sampson Browne. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Ms. Lewis, I want to start with you, please. And I want to ask for an overview of Caribbean empowerment.
Greetings, DK, and greetings to your listening and viewing audience. May I start with extending condolences to the relatives of Ms. Hazel Browne, a true activist. So to answer your question, Caribbean Women Honors and Empowerment is a unit that was established by the Diversity Advancement Network in Canada. They have three arms. So they have AWE, which is AWHE, so that's African Women Honors and Empowerment, and they have 13 chapters in Africa. And then we have what we call BAWE, which is BWHE, which is Black Women Honors and Empowerment. They have 11 chapters in the United States. And CWHE, which is short for Caribbean Women Honors and Empowerment, they have 9 in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago being number 9. All of the chapters are mandated to honor and empower women globally. And in so doing, we look at women who have suffered from gender-based violence, both victims and survivors alike. We also look at children who will be suffering from different types of abuse. And in so doing, we don't want to have a morbid organization. So we look for women who would have been a step above their game, who would have broken glass ceilings, who would have exceeded in their field. And in so doing, we honor women every single year. We would have started with Mrs. Hazel Manning. We would have continued with Dr. Agatha Carrington and Mrs. Glenda Marine Phillip. Then up came the pandemic, and we are now honored to be honoring 2 of Trinidad and Tobago's well-known, well-established, well-deserved women in the name of Miss Catherine Kumar and Mrs. Margaret Sampson Browne. So that's what CWHE is empowered to do. That is CWHE's mandate. We do it without fear or favor, in and out of the pandemic, and we have several initiatives under our umbrella.
And we hope to speak about some of those initiatives as time progresses in this conversation. But let's talk to two of these ladies who are a step above and ahead of the game, Ms. Kumar and Mrs. Sampson Browne. In that order, you are being honored by this NGO. What does it mean to you to be recognized for your contribution? Ms. Kumar?
Well, for me, and let me also say greetings to everyone who is tuned in and listening. For me, it means a lot because I have found that we don't recognize women sufficiently in Trinidad and Tobago for their contributions. This has been changing a lot, and even from where I came from the chamber, when we do our annual Champions of Business, we try to include women. But it is important that we recognize the work that women have done and continue to do in Trinidad and Tobago, and this will encourage others. Really and truly, I retired since 2016, and when Wendy called me, it was pretty much a surprise because I figured I've gone into retirement, you know, kind of gone out of the limelight and stuff like that, and I was surprised. But, you know, I suppose that she would say, what you have done in the past never goes away. And in my very own way, I continue to make sure that I continue to contribute to the development of women and young women in particular who need some sort of mentor.
Thank you for that. Mrs. Sampson Browne, I'll ask you the same question, please.
I thank you so much, DK, and thank you so much, CWHE, for, I feel humbled and honored for you to recognize me. You know, sometimes, and Catherine said it correct, we don't celebrate enough. And while I'm sitting here waiting to speak to you and to speak to the public, I wrote a little something here. Being a leader did not change who I was. It revealed who I was. And over the years, as coming up the ranks from a constable and retiring as an assistant commissioner, I felt a thirst to continue to work to help and support and empower women. Hence the reason I went into another discipline and then another discipline. And I would go in another discipline because I am not a retiree, I am a refiree. I am all fired up. And anytime they call me, I am ready, willing and able to go. I listen to on the radio and I hear the pain because we can't postpone pain. And that is why we are here to stand in the gate, to continue to work with this honorable organization, CWHE, and this dynamic board of directors. Thank you so much for remembering me and remembering my words.
And
You're welcome.
listening to what you're saying, Mrs. Sampson Browne, I want to continue on that, please, in terms of power revealing who you are as opposed to really changing you. And I want to ask you first and then Ms. Kumar, what is the biggest misconception you think that you've encountered about women in positions of power, either the position itself or the person in that position?
Sad to say, some of the opposite sex don't feel we can do it. Quite recently, I was watching the television and the representative, Liz Cheney said in her concession speech, she said, men are here to rule and to take power and control. And then she drew closer to the mic and said, quite frankly, they ain't doing it so right. You see? No, I am not here to bash, but I am here to say that women in leadership lean more to a kind of self-sacrifice. Because we are special, you know. A man would go to work, DK, and the members of this team would go to work, and he would work all day, and in the evening, he would go to his favorite watering hole, and he'd have a drink or two, and then he'd come home and he'd sprawl out in front of the television. But we women, we wake up long before they do. We do all the things that we are required to do to make sure the household is okay. And then we leave and we lead from behind at our workplace. And while we are there, our mind is leading forward towards what am I cooking? What to pick up the child from school? How I go to do the homework? And we are all compartmentalizing these specialist roles that some of the other opposite sex take for granted. And we have been doing it for so long that even when people praise us for doing it, we think it's no big thing because it becomes part of our DNA. It becomes part of our DNA.
And while some people are taking for granted, CWHE is not. And Ms. Kumar, I want you to put your thoughts on that, please. Any misconceptions that you find with regard to the person or the position, especially when that person is a female, is a woman?
Yeah, so I would say the misconception is more with the person, not the position. And I like what Margaret said there, leading from behind. I find that men see us as being able to be very good support, excellent in an organization. We are always there to help, to bring up a new idea, to do things. So we are behind, but they never want to put us in front, So why can't we lead from the front? Why is it we must always lead from behind? I want to lead from in front. I want to be the leader. I don't always want to be your support. All right? I don't always want to be walking behind you. And I had lots of experiences in my life, in my career with that, where in a particular organization I was in, I was always acting when the CEO left or so, and I would act or I would get all the credits, what a great job I did and so. So why when a next position came up, I wasn't given the CEO job, So I think that's one of our biggest things, that men still, most men, not all, I must admit I'm seeing changes with some men. Most men think, yes, we have very good support, we can be there to support, to hold hands, to deal with all the little difficult issues that they don't want to deal with, but they don't want to see us as yet be the leader. And that's what I think that we need to work on and change in Trinidad and Tobago, that we are as capable I wouldn't go to the other extreme and say maybe more capable, although that may be true, but let's for the time being put us on par. Let's put us on par. We'll worry about it, whether we are more. But for now, put us on par. We are as capable. And we have gifts that when you leave us out of the leadership role, the organization is lacking. Because each of us bring our different gifts. And we have some things that we will always be better at than men. And yes, they have some things that they will always be better at also. So let's bring in all the talents. Let's leave out no one. Let's not leave out the woman.
And I really like that point in terms of the fact that filling one glass doesn't mean that the other one is diminished. But I also like the fact I'm hearing some sounds, even though I'm not seeing you at this point in time. I feel if we'd pass around a collection plate, it would have come back with some nice returns. But we continue the conversation with Ms. Catherine Kumar, former Chamber of Commerce head, as well as Margaret Sampson Browne, retired Assistant Commissioner of Police, as well as Wendy H. Lewis, District Manager of CWHE. Stay with us. We return with more. Welcome back to the conversation with Catherine Kumar, Margaret Sampson Browne, and Wendy H. Lewis. Ms. Lewis, don't feel I was leaving you out while affirming the crown on the heads of your honorees, but tell me a little bit about the operations during the pandemic, as well as this year's event, or this event that we're looking forward to on the 2nd of October, please.
Sure, Dike. During the pandemic, we felt that we should not allow the pandemic to destroy our mandate. So we decided that we will still operate within our mandate during the pandemic. We would have done a lot of stuff internally. We would have done a hamper drive for our members. Constantly, daily, we were helping people who are looking for the escape route, people who suffered from gender-based violence during the pandemic, because that was a space where men, and this is not about, bashing the men, but men were outside of their comfort zone during the pandemic. So home seemed unfamiliar to many. So then the arguments ensued, and abuse did not get dormant during the pandemic. It was still very active. So we still had our part to play. So we were still doing initiatives, we were still speaking to people. And one of the things we did during the 16 days of activism at the beginning of the pandemic, we would have had 16 interviews with people just pouring into the public. Your mindset, your attitude, your purpose, empowerment, keeping your head straight, mental illness, all of it we kept at the front burner because we recognized that this was an area that may be easily overlooked with the power of the pandemic. Fast forwarding to this actual event, it takes place on the 2nd of October at Roslyn Hall and Lounge, Ozenville Road in Tunapuna. We start promptly at 5 p.m. We have a cocktail hour, which will be a red carpet event. For the cocktail hour, we'll be interviewing the honorees past and present. We'll interview some members of the audience. We have dignitaries. And this is all under the patronage of the Honorable Ayanna Webster Roy, Minister with the responsibility for gender and child affairs. So thank you to the Honorable Minister and her ministry who have always supported CWHE. Always supported our initiatives. And following that, we would have the beginning of the program for approximately 20 minutes. Then we have dinner for an hour and 15 minutes, and the program continues with entertainment. We honor the honorees. They have a 5-minute response. We have some surprises in there, so I wouldn't get the cat out of the bag. And people who are interested in getting tickets, you can go to Ticket Gateway and just type in CWHE and CWHE's event will come up, or you can get tickets from any one of the directors or the honorees themselves. And we're looking forward to having an amazing time. Tickets are just $300. We recognize that we're in a pandemic still, so it's just $300. It's semi-formal. A table of 9 is $2,500, so you get a discount as well. And we expect to have an amazing, amazing afternoon into the evening, honoring these two well-deserved women. Our former honorees will be present as well, so we intend to just continue doing what we do. And we'll also share some other information as to how you can become a member of the organization. We will have a video presentation on the actual organization, so people who are there can see what we've done in the past and see what they can become a part of, so we continue the mission.
And that is one of the things I wanted to ask, because this event will actually help to fund some of the other initiatives that CWHE is doing. Correct. So how do people reach out to the NGO, and what kind of partners are you looking for?
Actually, we're looking for heart. That's what we're looking. You have to have a heart to serve. You have to love people. So I'll share this with you. Somebody wanted to join the organization, and they would have asked our social services director, so what are the benefits for members? She said, that's the first thing that disqualifies you. And everybody was like stunned. But she said, if you're coming to join CWHE looking for personal benefits, this is not the NGO for you. We serve from the bottom of our hearts. We are not funded. We raise our own funds. We have external support. But the mission and the mandate is to really help our sisters and our daughters. And interestingly enough, we have not forgotten the men. Because during the pandemic, whilst I was on my radio program, A Woman's Worth, somebody would have called in and said, well, we're hearing you every Monday, you're talking, you're empowering the women. What about the men? I said, we haven't forgotten the men. And that was in the month of May, which was Mental Health Awareness Month. And what we started in CWHE was an initiative called Men, We Are Here For You. So every last Saturday in the month, we have a panel discussion. We have a legal counsel. We have subject matter experts. We have somebody from the entertainment and media industry. And we have a quiet, sacred place for men. What's interesting is during the program, we will have probably, say 25 at the most, we had 30 people live. As the live ends, return to that live in 30 minutes, we have crossed 100. Because the men have their pride, they have their ego, they want to speak about things. We have men who are victims of gender-based violence as well. And they are afraid to even make a report. They don't want the officers to make fun of them. They don't want to seem less than. So we now have to empower these men to let them know that you are somebody.
And it's so important to hold that space and allow people to feel the way they want to while trying to move forward. But in the last 90 seconds we're going on, because you got the bigger half of the second half. But 45 seconds each, please, honorees. Asking you first, please, Ms. Kumar, advice to a young woman charting a lonely road towards achieving her dream.
The advice I would give is some of what Wendy would have just said, actually. Serve. I think service is what can get us to where we are. And because innately we know how to serve, from our background, and so we do that in organizations. We serve our employees, we serve our customers, we serve everyone, the board of directors, and so. So when you get into that position, remember to continue to serve. And if we always keep that uppermost in our mind, we are in leadership to serve, not to be served. You go outside and sit down with your employees. You go and meet customers. Service is the number one thing that will keep us up.
We're looking for servant leaders. Margaret, Sampson, Browne, your 30 seconds. Thank you.
To my dear upcoming leaders, build relationship before you build power. Relationship is what's going to move you in a particular way. Because the wind cannot move a stone, it moves the dust off of the stone. And don't let the misery of others determine your comfort, how you live your life. Spend the rest of your life living. And live it not only for you, but live it for the person that you have identified to serve, as Kathleen said. And that's what you're about serving. And how do we serve? You wake up in the morning, you appear on work, and you work for the day, and when you go home in the evening, when you sit down and you have a glass of water like I'm having, what do you reflect on? What do you reflect on? What do you say? What have I done for the day? How am I going to deal with tomorrow? So my dear, build relationships before you build power.
And it make me feel that 41 years in the TTPS, the PS is not police service. It make me feel as though it's philosophical society. But we see part of the reason, that Catherine Kumar and Margaret Sampson Browne are being honored. And we want to thank you for the work that you're doing, as well as you, Wendy H. Lewis. And on behalf of the entire TGT News team, our pleasure. On behalf of the entire TGT News team, I'm Dike Rostant. This has been In Depth. Thank you so much for joining us.